Thank you so much for presenting your new film here. It's a pleasure to have you. You've shown all your film here, so it's really nice to continue the relationship with your work. And I wanted to start by asking a little bit about the theme of the film, because it is a coming of age for a young boy that's 8 or 9, but it's also a coming of age for, I would say, every character in the film. It's a coming of age for a new country that just liberated itself from the colonialism, imperialism of France. So there's many levels of like moving into a different age. And I was wondering if you could talk a little bit about the relationship that each character and the country would have with each other.
The thing is, it's a film about my youth there, obviously, because I lived in this military base, and the film is very inspired by a lot of my experience and all anecdotes that I lived there. And so it's, I realized, of course, that I was a child, and I was realizing that there was something going wrong in this kind of fake paradise. But I was starting to understand things without having the words. But I realized when I worked on this film that, in fact, this colonial system was based on the fact that we were all like children, in fact. And so, of course, I was a child in my family, but my mother was a child a minor in front of my father. My father was a minor in front of the military hierarchy, and all the Malagasy were like children in front of the French colonials. And so I realized that all the system was working about the fact that we were like children. People were very young on that base. So I was very interested about this idea of a very cruel theater play played by, I can say, unconscious characters. And when I worked on the film, I discovered that was something which was like a moment of truth in my work, when I discovered that song that you hear at the end of the film, which was really a song of the Malagasy Revolution, and we're saying you have to say goodbye to your enfance, to your youth. And that's very incredible, because the song say you have to say goodbye if you want to change something politically. And at the same time, it doesn't mean that you have to be a grown-up. You have to live your life to discover freedom, the freedom to have sex, the freedom to drink, to think what you can think. And so I realized that it has something to do with the revolution, with the idea of if you don't want to be anymore the minor of someone else. And that's why I was interested by the fact that all these characters were like children, and they were realizing things. Because my family, I'm born in Morocco, which was also a kind of colony. I lived after in Algeria, after the independence, and we went there, and I realized, thinking about my family, that we tried all the time to avoid reality, to escape reality. We were trying to find a new shore where we could, because we didn't want to go back to France, because going back to France would have meant we were going back to our reality, and especially to our social reality, because in fact we were not rich. We were rich because we were in colonies. And we spent 1 year in France before coming to Madagascar. I realized that our life we were quite miserable, in fact. So that's also that idea to escape, yes, reality, death. I think we were like in a dream, and we were we were hoping that we will find another shore where the illusion of the paradise could survive a little bit. It's not exactly an answer to your question, but it's close.
Sometime we will try to match answers and questions.
Yeah, that would be interesting.
All the characters you wrote are fully developed and very interesting to see their evolution in the film. The men showed different side of masculinity, but there's a lot of sensitivity on their side on the surface, not so much inside, but you show them very hard but kind. And I find the character of the young man, I think it's Bernard,
Yeah.
The way he evolved within relationship, from fake gentle to sort of toxic,
Yeah.
And back, is also a great counterpart to the part of the father, and of course the role of the young child. Yeah. Can you talk about the process to write these characters and putting them on screen?
Yes, I think there's a kind of opposition, of a contrast between Robert, the father, and the young military Bernard. Because Robert is obviously toxic. He's really like a macho, and you can see that he's really terrible with the mother, and it's obvious. But you realize that it's like he's playing a role he has to play in this kind of system, and so he doesn't know how to be something else. That's what we are expecting from him, and that's for me something a little bit sad. On the other hand, Bernard is quite naive, but it's not because you're naive. I mean, you can be toxic and naive, you know, that's the worst thing. And so, in fact, he's very, how can I say it, he's very sincere. He seems so much in love with his first girlfriend, like they are so like a dreamy image of a young couple. And but in fact, when he changes and he finds another girl and he's with this Madagascar girl, you realize that he's in the same sincerity, as if he could change the partner without, and the fact that he's naive is a little bit freaky for me. It's a little bit weird for me, and so I was very interested in that. And also, he's someone who is trying to, he wants to live his dream till the end. And so for me, when he dances with the girl at the end, in the Messe des Officiers, and it's supposed to be a very sensual thing, and it becomes more and more threatening for the girl. And for me, he represents exactly what France was in this kind of country, as if he doesn't want to leave the country, as if the girl represents that dream, that paradise that he has to live. And of course, it's violent. It's something which is, it comes from a sincere thing, but it's really violent for the girl. And I remember even when we were, you know, as in my family, people were saying that it's so sad that we left Algeria because we were like brothers. That's so fake. You know, because it's incredible to say such a thing, because I heard, you know, and when it's your family, your own family, you think of this film and you rethink of what your mother was saying, and my mother was a lovely person, really, but when she says in the film, and it's something that I heard from her, she said, my father didn't me to marry a Spanish guy. And even at the beginning, he thought he was Arab. Mm-hmm. It's simply racist thing, but for her, it was something normal to say. So I wanted to talk about that. I'm a little bit lost. I'm going to stop.
I think you're onto something with the role of the woman as well, because we were talking about the men.
Yeah.
So you have the role of the mother and her friends,
yeah.
And the role of the little girl, like Cathy,
yeah.
but also the young woman and
Suzanne.
Suzanne.
Yeah. The little girl.
C'est pas Cathy?
Cathy is her real name, I think. No.
Oui, yes.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. But also so that young woman that is seen as an object of desire is so real, and she's such a conscience of the country.
Yeah.
And
Which you mean the Malagasy girl?
yeah. She's not the conscience of the country?
Yes.
Yes. And I wanted to hear from you about working on that particular side of her. The mother is, you know, she's nice, she's kind. You can see that she's not fully herself because she's replaced by in the family context. Yeah. But there's so many more women in there. And it's really when you bring the other woman in the story that you can see the entire complexity of what the child is experiencing and seeing and how it's going to shape him to be.
Yes, in fact, it's like a system of you go through the film with some characters who helps you to discover another part of the reality. And for me, this girl, what I loved with the actress, because she's not an actress, and I didn't.
Is it her first role?
Yes, it's her first role, and she was really amazing. And I didn't see her before shooting because of the COVID. She was so I talked to her through internet, but I never met her. The day I met her, we shot the film, you know, and yes, so it was
no way to back out.
no, but she was very good. Really, the tests we made, you know, on internet were really amazing. But there's something that I love is that. So the first time she came, it was the first time she left Madagascar. She never. That was the first time.
You mean she went to France?
Yes,
okay.
And we did the scene, you know, for Christmas. The first when she appears, it's shot in France, because we needed the plane, and she was amazing. And I love the fact that. It's kind of also like a colonial fantasy of, you know, a young military guy in love with a girl which is so pretty and so nice and so shy. And I love when the characters go through mutation, that as if our gaze was revealing them. And for me, it's very interesting to show that she's not exactly what we think she is. And so she's not representing exactly the revolution, because she's not exactly like a militant or but she represents a resistance to the French people. You know, because if you realize, first of all, that she's not so much in love with Bernard. And I love the scene when Bernard falls asleep and you have this first discussion in Malagasy, because you realize her distance in the situation, what she thinks of this guy. She has not so much illusions, in fact, and you follow this girl. She becomes the first character, the protagonist of the film, and she's the one who says to the young boy, "Go away," and it's like she's saying that to all the French characters in the film, you know, and I love this idea that she sees this small ghost, weird ghost, appearing through the. I love this, and with her, like, we discovered the revolution, and I love that it's like. Comme si il transmettait le relais, as if they were. We will. It's our guide, in fact. And I love the fact that characters become guides for the spectator, and like a new point of view in the film, and it reveals another world that was out of frame during quite all the film. And
I mean, I think the speech that she made at that moment really changed the way you would see the country, the characters, and what's going to happen with Thomas.
Yes, and you know, it's I love that. That's why I love that scene between them, because first of all, they were playing so well. I was really amazed because it's not so easy, you know. But it's the scene itself is an imitation of a Dreyer film. It's inspired by Gertrude of Dreyer, where Gertrude is talking to a guy and she explains that she had a nightmare where she was eaten alive by dogs, and she realized that it's a painting behind them, if I remember, or something like that. Maybe it was not that, but that was my inspiration. And I love to transpose that in Madagascar in a totally different situation, and the fact that our nightmare was a French dream. You know what I mean? And there are some things that a French philosopher, Gilles Deleuze, was saying about Minelli. He said the films of Minelli are structured by the idea of what does it mean to be trapped in another one dream, you know? And for me, the Malagasy were trapped in the French dream, and that's colonialism. Thank you.
I mean, you did reference Deleuze, Minelli, and Dreyer in one sentence. So,
yeah.
You know, you do deserve some clapping. But I mean, there's obviously a strong autobiographical part in the film, and it's probably, I don't know if it's therapeutic for you to make it into a film as opposed to just write it. But there's a lot of things that seem really interesting in the way the young boy is shaped by this life of like moving from colony to colony, being with this family and the army also, and the way he's growing up in. He's still himself. I know what you're saying about the role of the father, but it's not as hard as you make it to be when you're talking about it. Yeah. He seems a little lost. He still accepts his son for what he's doing, which is, you know, he's wearing a clothes of Fantômette, which is not quite normal for an 8-year-old boy. I mean, it's a little out of the norm. I love Fantômette. I would have dressed like Fantômette if I could. And this, you know, it's like, oh, it's weird, but then, you know, it's really interesting also when he brings the gift of the crocodiles.
Yeah.
And I was wondering if you could talk about that part as an autobiographical point of view. Were you ever offered some crocodiles as gifts?
Yeah, the first, I did this film because I was with a friend, a good friend of mine, Gilles Marchand, and we were talking about, I talked about...
He worked with you in the film, yes.
We talked about an anecdote because I told him when I was in Madagascar, my mother made the costume of Fantômette for me, and I put it on, and I went outside at night, and that was for me the most incredible night of my life. That I'm very happy that no one saw that, because it was like how can I say, like a real vivid coming out, you know, to be like this dressed in in Fantômette, and you know that was interesting because it's a female character. And you know, considering the situation, and all the details in the film are real. They are. Your
mother made you a costume of Fantômette.
Yes, and I had this crocodile.
You still have it?
No, but I met again my friends. You know, the Suzanne, the Asian, my Asian. She went to see the film, and she told me that that was really sad because I didn't. She couldn't wear the costume because it was mine. I was like this, and she no sharing, no, and so it's but everything and the crocodiles. I don't know why my father gave us those crocodiles, and when we did the film because. The idea is so stupid. That's why I'm talking about children. It's because my father considered that it was not great to put it in the swimming pool, but he was okay to put it in the lake. And you know, it was a lake where we were bathing, you know? When you think about all that, you realize that it's a crazy system where people were, and so it was, I wanted to talk about all these crazy details because we were not in our country. We didn't understand how it works. It was very weird. I loved this period. For me, it was really like a paradise. I have to be honest. It's, but I know when I came back to France, I never authorized me to have a nostalgia of this period. For many years, people were asking me, why didn't you go back to Madagascar? But because I cannot, and I don't want to make come back the colonial dream, you know? That was very weird, and the only...
So you already knew if there was something wrong with it,
yes,
even as a child?
Yes, it was very weird. And
it's
so
not just going back to Lost Paradise, it's just like, this is wrong.
Yeah, but I didn't know why, really. And the only way I could get back to Madagascar was to do this film.
Okay.
Yeah, no.
You had not been back since?
No, I went 4 years ago, just on repérage.
Okay. Yeah, but just for the film.
Just
otherwise
for the
you
film.
Not got back. Okay.
It's impossible, and you know it's always under French influence. Yeah. All the hotels, all the commercial things are French. Or yes, very much. So yeah, there's it's what we call.
It's politically. It's
very what we call a little bit
yeah.
France-Afrique.
Yes. Before we open up to the audience, I wanted to ask you about the cinematography and your collaboration with Jeanne Lapoirie. I think you worked with Jeanne on all your films.
Yeah.
And I really love the aesthetic choice that you made for the film, picking this particular aspect ratio and the way you chose the coloring, because there's a sort of color that are reflecting of the Red Island and all the colors that you would find on this paradise, obviously, but it's also like there's such richness and such texture in the way it's filmed that I actually thought it was shot on film. So, you know. And then you corrected me rudely.
No, I was very polite. But in fact, I wanted really to do. I say to Jeanne Lapoirie, my cinematographer, of course, I wanted to do it in natural sets in Madagascar because, in fact, all the places were there, but I told her I want to put more colors on it, as if we were repainting the image, as if on reality we were superposing the fantasy of, you know, Orientalism, of exotism. I mean exotism, as if there's a layer of exotism on reality. As if we have the point of view, the colored point of view of the colonials. So that's what.
Which is very Lost Paradise.
Yes.
So it's much stronger.
Yeah, yes, it's something that we chose all the places, and you know, usually I don't put so much colors in my film, and this one I wanted to be more like with strong colors, with a lot of and as you say, texture. You know, there are places I was so amazed. You know, when how you call it, bamboo.
I think it's bamboo.
Bamboo, I suppose. All these places for me were amazing, and it was something you didn't have to push too much to obtain what I wanted to obtain. But for me, that was a very specific work to find the colors on the wall, all those things, even the clothes and everything. That was a very, very precise work, because I wanted, you know, when I was young, you're too young to know that. When I was young, you know, when you were at school, when you were a child, you have good points. And if you had 10 points, they were giving you one image.
Yeah, I think it's like a gold star type of equivalent.
So, but that means at the moment, a long time ago, to have one image was a privilege. You know, because
I do remember actually.
Yeah,
I never got it.
No internet, no. So to have an image was something very precious, and this image was just like a farm, a mountain, an animal. It was very simple. And
there's nothing special to them. It was just the fact of getting them.
Exactly. But I wanted the film to look like these small images, and that's why also it's a little bit square. I love the idea that it was like a very small frame like this. For me, that was important. At the same time, it meant also that it was like you were in the case with the box with the young guy, which is also square, and also that means you have a lot of things out of frame, like the Malagasy, like the rest of reality during the film. So that I was really interested at this idea to come back, even if we are in a world of a lot of images, but to come back to a preciousness of the image. I don't know if it's clear, but
it is. I mean, and the box also.
Yeah,
it's a creation of a filmmaker because you're gazing outside and you're already thinking about observing.
But you know, first of all, I had this box, and so I have a big.
So you didn't invent anything.
No, I lack imagination, but you know, when this box, I realized that it was like I was in a camera. You know, in the camera chamber.
You were in the camera?
As if in the camera, the dark, you know? Yeah, thank you. And it's something because I didn't want, there was a cinema on this base, but I didn't want to talk about cinema because I didn't want people to think that I was talking of myself as a future director. I didn't want that. I wanted people to think of the education of a gaze, how a child reveals by his gaze what is going on around him. That's it.
I lived in a colonial situation too in Puerto Rico, and there was bad mouthing of the locals about if your car hit them, they would be set for life. Was there that kind of talk about the locals there?
Sorry, I didn't.
Bad.
Did you have problems
image.
with the locals?
Oh no. No, I mean, you know, first of all, we did when we went to because of the COVID, we couldn't shoot in Madagascar first. So all the house is done close to Paris. We put a lot of
red soil?
Red soil all over the place. That was a nightmare. And after we went to Madagascar. But when we went to Madagascar, we decided to do the film with Malagasy co-production, and with Malagasy technicians and of course actors. And for me it was very important because I hoped to help also the cinematographic production there, you know, because it's very difficult. It's a very poor country, and it's very difficult. It didn't work as I wished, but it was really beautiful and meaningful to do this film with Malagasy. That was very strong. But no, that was really.
I think it's important to help local production when you're shooting. You can't just import everything.
And especially on this film, you know, because it would have been very strange.
You're giving back also in a way.
That's what when you said before. I didn't try to heal something. I just wanted to get something back to this country, and because it's absolutely forgotten in France. This history, I think it was time enough to talk about this moment, this specific moment of the French history and their history. And when I made the film, I showed him to a lot of people because
you showed it there?
No, I couldn't.
Oh,
it's very difficult. I still try.
Hasn't been shown in Madagascar?
It's a little bit, but it's very difficult. No. Because of the election there, which are a little bit, but I hope I can. I must say that people saw it a lot on internet, and there are a lot, which is, I think, a good thing, because it is important that they saw it, but that was very difficult. But I really wanted to get something back to the country, because I lived there like 2 years and a half, but it's my country of youth, you know. It's really the place where I come, weirdly, you know.
Yes. I wish we had more time, because you have so much more to say about the film. Thank you so much for coming,
Thank you, really.
and hopefully we'll bring it back.
Thank you.